don't get me wrong, we like our big SUVs. And today we're gonna drive one of the biggest ones available in the Philippine market, the Chevrolet Tahoe. Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and yes, we've got the new Chevrolet Tahoe Z71 for you. Now, we do like big SUVs, but holy cow, this is bigger than I would think. And in the United States, these kinds of vehicles are normal, but not so here, because our roads are narrower, our streets are tighter, and all that stuff. There's a lot more traffic. So it's kind of interesting to see how a Tahoe would fare on our roads. Now, Suburban is the longest, the biggest out of the GM SUVs. This one is the second one. It's a little bit shorter, but in terms of width and a lot of the things, it's pretty much very, very similar, if not the same. The difference here, though, is that this is a Z71. And in Chevrolet speak, when they put Z71 here, it means it's more of an off-roader or a 4x4 capable kind of vehicle. You can see it with the lower bumper and with the tires. I mean, for one, the look, of course, very, very nice, but they do have the different bumper going on with the toe points there if you want to pull something or if you want to winch this. It's not a steel bumper or anything like that, but I'm sure there are going to be aftermarket options if this is your kind of thing. But really, it's more of the tires. They went with all-terrain tires in this one, and it's really something you're gonna enjoy if you're the type that likes to off-road and likes to overland. Now, from that angle, you can see that it is a big vehicle, and it does look really cool. What they did with the glass, what they did with the height, with the wheels, and the side steps, it just looks nice and imposing. What's one unusual detail here, though, is that the shark's fin antenna is right there on the driver's side, which I don't really see in any other vehicle. But still, what's gonna be key here is the size and gonna be the height, because this one, over 5.3 meters long, over 2 meters wide, and we'll show you inside what that looks like. But also, in terms of height, that is something that's different. Now, right now we have it in the regular ride height, but it's actually adjustable. So, I locked it. Now, when we go inside, let me pop the car on for you. So this has the adaptive suspension system and the adjustable ride height. Let me just wait for there you go, the seatbelt warning to go off. Now, right now, let's see what height we're at. We are in the regular ride height of this. If I wanted to, let's say, lower the vehicle, I can, and pop it down to low for entry and exit. And now you can see the vehicle lowering. Can you see it on the camera? Let me know in the comments below. So right now it's dropping a little bit to make ingress and egress a lot easier. So right now I'm just waiting for it to finish, and there. So it should be lower, and then let's pop it back up to the normal ground clearance, which I think is just over 200 millimeters. And that is pretty cool overall. Now, there is also a much higher ground clearance version of this, and for that, we need to get into 4 low. So, first, I need to pop it into neutral, put it into 4 low, let it engage, and then when it's fully engaged, I can put it into the maximum ground clearance. That's pretty cool, and let's see what it looks like now from the outside. Whoa, ang taas! It's gonna make getting in and out a lot more challenging. If you can't tell by now, I'm really starting to like the Chevrolet Tahoe. I also like what they did with the glass. I mean, they do have the blackened D-pillar here. Gives it a nice clean look. The color, even in the white, I would have preferred maybe, I don't know, some kind of metallic gray. I think that would look really good in this vehicle. But the taillights, it's like LEDs encased in this big smoke panel. Also very nice. Even the way they did the rear wiper, it tucks up into that spoiler very, very neatly. Now, to pop open the tailgate, you press this, or you press a button on your key twice to open that. And what you find here is a space that measures 21 inches long up to there, and then about 49 inches wide, and about 33 inches high up to about here. But what we really appreciate here is the ability to fold down all these seats with this panel right here. For example, you want to fold down the third row, press and hold that. It'll flip down, and now you have up to 51 inches of length from here to there. If you want to fold down the middle row, you also can. And there you go. It folds down flat, giving you up to 78 inches all the way there, fully supported. If you want to tumble the middle row, something like that. No, there you go. Sorry, you have to press and hold. But you can tumble it there, no problem. Makes getting in and out easier if the third row was up, or if you want to store something there. No problem. Lots of versatility in this vehicle. Oh, by the way, to pull up the third row, you can also do it as well. How nice is that overall for functionality and storage? Now let's check out what's under the hood. The Chevrolet Tahoe has a very big heart. It's a 5.3 liter V8 with a 4x4 system, and again, being a proper truck that is body on frame style, it's primarily rear wheel drive, and then you can activate the 4x4 if you so wish. Now, in terms of fuel economy, yeah, that's really going to be the thing that we're gonna try out later, because it's gonna be thirsty. That's what we expect out of these vehicles. But looking around the engine bay, what can we see? Well, you do have this big hood with the dampers, which is nice, keeping it nice and up there. You also got, we can't see it now, but it does have an oil cooler and a transmission oil cooler. These things we appreciate in a vehicle like this. And also, if you notice, there's a little kind of recess here, tray, and it has a sign here, do not power wash that. The reason is, that is the inlet for the intake. So the intake goes through there, to the filter, and into that big V8. So that is something to keep in mind. They position it up here so it can be as high up as possible. And mind you, right now we have it in entry and exit mode in terms of the ride height. So it seems a little bit low, but once you go to the maximum clearance, it's gonna be like, I think it adds about 4 inches, so maybe right about there, thereabouts. Anyways, let's check out inside. The third row of the Tahoe makes me wish I brought a pillow because it is nice and wide. The reason being, this is an 8-seater, meaning 2 in front, 3 here in the middle, and 3 more here in the very back. Though, if it's really 3 people, it might be a little tight, at least for, my liking. But still, as a third row, it's one of the most spacious ones we've tried because, again, the vehicle is quite big. They did a good thing with the platform because the floor is like pretty much almost flat, even in the middle row. But still, nice space here, plenty of knee room, AC vents, lights here, hooks for coats if you want to hang something here, cup holders, pockets, 2 USB-C ports so you can charge here. But really, it's just a nice space to be in, even for a third row, and getting in and out is actually easy. The thing I would want fixed or addressed is this big plastic panel here, because when I was driving it around on EDSA, I can hear some kind of rattling, and I think I found the source of it right here. But still, all well and good. Let's try the middle row, and to open that, that's pretty cool. Now this is more like it because, again, being one of those kinds of vehicles that you would use for executives, you want this to be spacious, you want it to feel good. And in the case of this, that is definitely what we're getting. Plenty of room, AC controls, cup holders there, here, pocket here for my phone. It's got a nice big window with privacy glass, so it means tinted from the factory right there, which is pretty nice. Doesn't have a sunroof. I wish it kind of had it, but then again, it's pretty hot in Metro Manila and the Philippines in general. So that's perfectly fine. I do wish the seats felt a little better because it seems a bit too plain here, but I can understand why they went this way because over in the States it's more meant as a family car, but also they need to accommodate the way this folds because the way it does, you know what, Barney, can you pull that twice? You can see how it folds down, it tucks in down to the level of the cushion here because when you have the rear seat folded, you'll have the flat continuous space over there. Same with this one. So keep that in mind with the Tahoe. Now let's check out the front. So this is where it's all happening, the front seat of the Chevrolet Tahoe. And I have to say, even though it is a lot of plastic here, it does seem very well built and very well put together. Gaps are consistent. Nothing is sticking out to my eye. It just seems very well put together. We like it that way. There's a lot of leather going on, not nice stitching. The way they do the seats, none of those like unsightly creases and all that. That's what you want in a vehicle. And then we have to say, we love their attention to detail when it comes to storage compartments, like on the doors. If you look at the doors of this, there are compartments. You do have your handle here, you do have a midway pocket and then a lower pocket with a bottle holder. There are pockets here on either side. By the way, the transmission of this is pretty much under there, so they can put some stuff in here for pockets. A big wireless charger over here, which is nice. Two big cup holders, another kind of surface there, pockets there. You do have your glove compartment over there, and if you want a place to store your sunshade, your shades or sunglasses, you don't do it up here, you do it over here, which is pretty nice. But what we do like about the Tahoe is how they combined having a modern glass cockpit, you know, with the screens here in front, with having controls that are easy to use. That is what you generally want out of a truck. So, for instance, you do have a digital screen here, and what I like about it is that you can configure it in so many ways to make it more uncluttered. You know, for example, when I first got this vehicle, the instrument cluster looked like this. So it was in the classic layout, and then it just seemed a bit cluttered to me. Actually, it was even more cluttered than that because they had the lower gauges at the maximum. So there's kind of a lot of things going on there, a lot of numbers. I didn't want that way, so I kind of reset it to having medium lower gauges. And then when I went to the full display layout, I went to the progressive, which is nice. It kind of keeps it nice and cleaner compared to what it normally came with. Now, here in the middle, we do have the screen here. I do have my not my Apple CarPlay, my Android Auto system going on. And what's nice about it, it's wireless. So I can actually use the wireless charging pad while I'm on my Android Auto using my apps, you know, for my Waze and all that stuff. That one I really do like. Now, outside of that view, you do have all these systems here. I mean, depending on what you want to use. But we do like the attention to detail with the way they do the cameras. One door is open, so you can't see one side, but you can pick different views. And as you can see, it does have the guidelines right there. One view I like is this one when you're parking, so you don't, clip the curb, that kind of thing. It even has a view in the back for when you're towing a trailer. That's pretty nice. Even on the steering wheel, you do have buttons for your audio, to control this screen right here for making calls and all that. And then you have your smart driving features right here that you can also adjust and control. I mean, it does have things like the adaptive cruise control, lane keep, all that stuff. When you look at it, they also have the light control here for the illumination of the screen. But you have the control for the trailer brake. So you can adjust the trailer brake from this panel if you have one fitted. And then you have your other features here. For example, the lane keep, the parking control. You have the button for the camera as well right here. Hill descent control. stability control, and the auto start stop system. Man, it's got a lot. Even the parking brake is on the left side. It's not here. So keep that in mind when you're driving this. You need to familiarize yourself. Also, with the 4-wheel drive control is right here on the left. 4 high, 4 low, auto, and then 2 high. And then you have the drive modes here. Let me go through the drive modes now for you. So you do have the normal mode. There's no fancy graphics. You have the sport mode, and then you have the off-road mode, and you have the trailer tow haul mode. So those are the main drive modes of the vehicle. And your height adjustment, yes, this one does have the air suspension. The height adjustment is also here. You press that, and then you select the ride height, entry and exit, so it goes down low. So especially if you have your parents getting in and out of the car, it makes it easier. And then you go to the normal ground clearance, and then the increased ground clearance, and then the maximum ground clearance, which needs, I think, the 4-wheel drive low, there you go, for it to activate. If you've driven, let's say, the previous generation Honda CR-V, it had the button panel for the transmission. The way they do it is a bit different. So push there for your park, then you pull this one for reverse, push for neutral, pull for drive. Yeah, it takes a bit of familiarization for you to be able to use that. And then you can engage low gear and then select the gear that you want using that. They didn't do paddles. The buttons here are not for the driving. I mean, it's really for the track and all that stuff. So keep those in mind. It takes familiarization before you can drive away with this vehicle. Why don't we start off this review with the worst thing about the Tahoe, and that is the fuel economy here in Metro Manila and even on the highway around Metro Manila. Because if you're driving it around town, you're gonna net around 4 kilometers per liter on most occasions. Sometimes it will even be less depending on the traffic conditions. For me, usually we do around 16 to 17 kilometers per hour, given the traffic nowadays on my daily commute from work. And on the highway here, you're gonna get around, you're lucky if it's around 9. Sometimes it's a little bit more, again, depending on the traffic, and sometimes it's around 8. So thereabouts, that's what you can expect out of this. But you're not gonna be looking at this unless you know that coming in. You get into these vehicles, you already know that it's gonna be a thirsty one. So kind of expected already, because once you do accept that about a vehicle like the Tahoe or the Suburban, or even before, like with other brands like Expedition and the Explorer as well, then you can start to enjoy what it has to offer you. And in this one, it's like the feeling of being in charge. You drive it around and you just don't worry about a lot of things. That is something you don't get in a lot of other vehicles. Like you drive around here, you're just cruising along. It's pretty quiet inside. I mean, I wish it was a little bit quieter because they did not use laminated glass for the side windows, except for the front. So that said, it's a great vehicle and the ride is superb. Now, in previous examples that I've tried of the body-on-frame trucks, body-on-frame SUVs, the ride isn't particularly great. It's wallowy and all that. This one, no. It's like they found a good balance for it. Like when you're driving around, you can feel the suspension working really well to keep those shocks and whatever from getting into the cabin, or at least muting them. It is big. It is wide. It is long. I mean, there's even the longer Suburban for that matter. But it actually feels like you can really maneuver this around town. Within reason, of course. You still have to pick your roads, and you can't just go on the recommendation of Waze without knowing what's ahead, because some roads here can get very, very tight. But this one seems to be managing it very well. I mean, it's easy to maneuver around. I've also got the camera system to help me out depending on what I need. Like, for example, if I press the camera now, you should be able to see it on the screen, on the camera there. That when you go around some of the other views, like that actually is going to be a big help. What I really want them to do, and what this one does not have, is change out the side mirrors. Because the side mirrors, they seem to be made for like expressway driving, because it's not tall enough, at least for my liking, in the city. Overall, I think Chevrolet, GM, has a pretty well-built vehicle in the Tahoe. I mean, there's very little for me to nitpick about here, which is a good thing. You want it to be built well. I mean, it's not going to be the most premium materials, but it seems to be put together with an attention to detail. The thing that I do find weird is the transmission. I mean, it does take a bit of getting used to. You're not going to jump into this and then suddenly, you're going to go right away. No, you need to familiarize yourself with where everything is, because some of the things are quite different from a lot of other SUVs we've tried, even from the ones from Ford. So like the way they laid out the buttons, the controls, it's all different. Like instead of having controls here, they chose to keep it as uncluttered as possible by putting most of it to the left side, which I think is a smart decision. So you have your air suspension controls here and all of that. The transmission control, yes, it does take some getting used to. So, but once you do get the hang of it, it's gonna work perfectly fine for you. I really like the way they did the storage, the compartments all around. It just seems very well thought out, very, very American when it comes to, like when you're doing road trips and all that kind of thing. Even the back seat is really nice. I would love to ride there and have a driver take care of things for me. I do wish it had more amenities, maybe even a sunroof, but these are just kind of, wish lists of mine, like what else can they add in this vehicle. But overall, very well built. It's really just the thirst that you have to get around. Because I remember I first got this vehicle. It had, I think, 400 kilometers of range indicated on the fuel meter. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's a lot of range. Maybe they did make it more efficient, this 5.3 liter V8. And then I realized the tank must be really huge for it to have that kind of range. And we'll show now the exact size of the tank, but yeah, keep that in mind in this vehicle. It's really begging for a hybrid system to be installed into this. That's something that we would really want in something like the Tahoe to, so they can bring down the engine size. But I do hope they keep that burbly engine sound, because when you power it up in the morning, it is really, really nice. But really, it's all about the ride. And once you start driving it around, you can just enjoy your drive to work, cruise along, and play Vivaldi through this really nice audio system. So, the Chevrolet Tahoe, it's a fantastic 4x4 SUV. I mean, nothing says cool 4x4 SUV quite like the look of this, the interior, the fact that you can raise up the ride height so many inches, no problemo, and the fact that it's got a big 5.3 liter V8, it's got a great sound, but also a great thirst for fuel. But if you're paying almost 8 million for something like this, well, you can afford fuel. I do wish they came out with a hybrid version of this in the Philippine market, because it'd be nice to enjoy this a little bit more with a little less of the thirst. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the Chevrolet Tahoe. Should they come out with a hybrid here in the Philippines? Should they have other variants? Should they bring down the price? That's something I would really want to see in this vehicle. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com.